Hey, we're here for another Sunday live start sits with your guys, the Fantasy Affair Fantasy Football Team. I am the Bourbon Dude, sipping on a little bit of Willet Rye, Family Estate Rye. Super good. It's 110 proof on the rocks. And if you're not a whiskey guy, straight up, it makes a badass old fashioned. And when I say old fashioned, I'm bringing in our man, Britt. Britt, you're my old fashioned fella.
I
You
was
got the
gonna
nice
say
little bottle cap hat and everything, although it's missing today. I miss it, man. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I was concerned how you're gonna segue old fashioned and me. I had a kid today say I have old man strength. I'm 28, folks. I don't know if that qualifies, but I'm
Old
pretty
man
certain
strength.
it doesn't. I feel odd. I don't know. I can't get past old man strength, man. I can't. I'm going to, but I can't. I'm doing great. My bucket hat's not here. I'm getting ready for the Seahawks game, so I may have to bounce out early. I'm trying to find a way to stay as long as possible to help you, the wonderful, illustrious people. But we're here to ride, baby. We're here to ride.
Yeah, absolutely. And hey, because you're leaving a little bit earlier, we got a guest. When we talk about old school, well, we're bringing in the new school, and that is our man Quinn, host of Hot by Happy Hour. You got to check it out. They talk waivers, start sits, and game previews for every week. Drops on Tuesdays. Again, Hot by Happy Hour, and that's Quinn_Cusky on Twitter. Quinn, how you doing, man?
What's up, everybody? Yeah, just like it was said. I mean, Hot by Happy Hour dropping every Tuesday. Waivers. We're gonna talk what trade targets are you buying high, selling low on people. We're doing weekly game picks. Week 1 was ugly. Me and Kobe both went 7-9 on week 1 game picks, and
Ooh.
Sammy went 6-10.
Hey, that's a win.
You're winning.
A win's a
That's
win.
all that
Yeah,
matters.
we're winning. Week 2, we're looking to right the ship, baby.
I like it. I like it. So, hey, we're already a couple minutes past due, and we're short for time. So I want to make sure we get to these. So I'm going to kick us right in. I'm going to say our man Richie Barton 6 says, hey, guys, T. Higgins or Kenyon Drake? I'm going to kick this one to you, Quinn, first up.
Yeah, I actually really like Kenyon Drake this week. I was in a similar situation. I had Mike Evans, Mike Williams, and Kenyon Drake. I had to start 2 of them. And I wound up sitting Mike Williams this week. Painful to my Chargers, I know. But the Steelers can't stop a back. I have a tendency to be able to stop a back that's really good out of the backfield. So especially in PPR, I think Kenyon Drake is going to feast today.
Yeah, I think that's fair, especially when you look at how they did last week against Devin Singletary and the Buffalo Bills. Devin Singletary averaged 6.5 yards a carry on 11 carries. He also had 5 targets, so that's a pretty solid floor for you for Kenyon Drake. Britt, what say you, man? T. Higgins or Kenyon Drake this week?
Yeah, I'm going to go T. Higgins here. I know that Kenyon Drake's going to give you that receiving floor. He had a 5 for 40, I think, which is fine. 9 points is what you want. But T. Higgins, you're getting that floor that Drake offers, plus a bunch of touchdown upside. T. Higgins was accompanied Jamar Chase with the sole receiving, or the 2 receiving touchdowns for the Bengals. Also, T. Higgins ran the same amount of snaps as Tyler Boyd, but was missing from like a fifth of the game. He went out for an IV drip, so he's getting clear wide receiver 2 snaps. I think that Higgins this year it's gonna be really tough to sit him. I just traded for him in one of my seasonal leagues because right now his value is only going to go up.
Yeah, I'm also probably on that Higgins train also, mainly because of what you talked about, that touchdown upside. And when you look at how Cincinnati performed against the Minnesota Vikings last week, I'm looking at very similar kind of production for T. Higgins that you saw from Adam Thielen, right? Around that 9 target range. Definitely a touchdown is in the cards, and Jamar Chase is playing that Justin Jefferson type feel, right? That alpha in the offense. So I think you could be in for a huge game for T. Higgins, but the floor of Drake you can't miss either. So it might be more of a floor versus ceiling play, depending on how you're projected to play and how the rest of your team is. So if you need that floor play, maybe it is a Kenyon Drake. If you need that ceiling play, maybe it is T. Higgins. But to me, I think T. Higgins might cover both of those, to be completely honest. All right, we're going to move on to Bodus Brad, and he says, man, Kenyon Drake is in the house today with that Josh Jacobs being called out due to his injuries. So Kenyon Drake or Tyson Williams, running back for the Baltimore Ravens. Britt, I'm going to kick this one to you first. You had that Tyson Williams love last week, so let's see how far it goes this week.
Did he mention it was PPR or not?
He did not.
Okay, so it's tough because it just came out, and I made the mistake last week of letting Sunday morning news tilt me into the game, but we already know what's going to happen. It just came out in word form that wasn't kind of veiled that we're going to have Harbaugh riding a hot hand. The issue with Tyson is he dropped a couple pass blocking assignments. It's going to be difficult. They already have a really tough matchup against the Chiefs. And with Frank Clark back there and their offensive line banged up, it's very likely that we see a bit more Latavius Murray than we want because Latavius Murray is a good pass blocking back. Also, Latavius Murray is a much worse runner than Tyson. I'm going to go Drake here. It feels icky, but I'm just going to be hoping for a touchdown on Drake. And, if it is PPR, then it's Drake. If it's not, then I'm still going to go Drake, I think. And I hate that. Go to your waiver wire and start literally anyone else. just go pick someone up other than Drake. He's fucking that guy.
All right, Quinn, where are you at with this?
I'm a bit opposite here. I like Kenyon Drake this week. I think that you're going to see Kenyon Drake get probably 20-ish touches, somewhere right in that range, because there's not really anyone else in that backfield now with Jacobs out. So he got decent work last week, and I think he's going to get even more work this week. So like we were talking with the last question, it's a good floor play. I mean, I think you're really comfortable you're going to get double digits if you start Kenyon Drake in fantasy.
Yeah, I'm leaning Drake in this one as well. Look, the Pittsburgh Steelers blitzed a whopping 2% of their plays last week and was still able to wreak havoc on Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills. So I expect a lot of the same against the Las Vegas Raiders. And where that's going to help is your dump-off passes. So between Darren Waller and Kenyon Drake, I think we're going to see a huge portion of those. So I think he's going to be a big benefactor in this game for that. So I'm going to, again, go with the floor play of a guy that I think is, I think 20 touches is definitely within the realm of possibility, 12 to 15 carries, 5 to 7 targets, something like that around the realm of possibility for Kenyon Drake. So I'm going to start Kenyon Drake in this situation as well. All right, Bodus Brad has another question. Josh Allen or Dak Prescott? So I'm going to kick this one to Quinn first. You're the resident, if you can't tell on the screen, the Chargers fan, which is who that man Dak Prescott is playing this week. So, Quinn, who are you starting, Dak Prescott or Josh Allen?
It's tough because I'm a huge Josh Allen fan, but we were talking about it in the pre-show. That Chargers-Cowboys game is going to be a shootout. It's like a 55-point over-under right now, and I'm slamming the over on it this week. And, I mean, I think Dak could you're going to see a very similar stat line to last week from Dak Prescott, I think. Just like with the score line finishing with the Chargers winning, just like how it finished with the Bucs winning. But I got Dak all the way here.
Love it. Britt, where are you at with it, man?
Yeah,
Josh Allen, Dak Prescott.
It's Dak. I am a little shaken with Josh Allen. Not that it's going to reduce me to not play him, but I'm going to go chase the volume, just like Quinn said, and Dak and the Chargers are going to be a really, really fun game. So I'm going to go and play that game there.
Yeah, I'm not going to disagree with that either. I'm going Dak Prescott here. If you think about Josh Allen last year against the Steelers, he didn't have a great game against the Steelers last year either, right? But he lit the world on fire everywhere else. So I'm not overreacting to Josh Allen. I think he's a smash start everywhere. Don't bench him. Don't get scared. However, when your other quarterback is Dak Prescott and you just saw the guy throw for 400 yards against one of the top defenses in Tampa Bay, and you've got some key players that are out, Quinn, that you mentioned pre-show, that's a pretty big deal for the Los Angeles Chargers. So I expect Dak to eat today. So I'm going Dak Prescott as well. All right, moving on. Kenyon Drake, another hot topic, and the fantasy darling of last year with the surprise inactive of Trey Sermon, who is now made active. There were glowing reports on how he came ready to practice. He came doing business this week. His whole mindset changed, Trey Sermon's. So, Britt, do you still think Elijah Mitchell is the guy this week? You're fading Drake, it sounds like, a little bit. So where are you at with this call?
Here's the deal. This is how this works with Shanahan, all right? he likes to play the player that is going to be healthy, which we can't predict. But what we do know is Elijah Mitchell fits that zone outside gap scheme a lot better than Trey Sermon, just strictly speaking, because you need some raw power and speed. And that's something Mitchell has and Sermon doesn't necessarily have, or we haven't seen yet, right? So what I'm thinking we're going to see here is we're going to see a 60-40, 55-45 split, more likely in Mitchell's way. And if we're talking about PPR as well, I think that Mitchell is going to be getting some of those dump offs more likely than Sermon. I like Sermon. He's fine, but he's really more of a grinder role than a Tevin Coleman-esque back in his glory days. That being said, Kenyon Drake got 5 receptions for 40 yards I already mentioned this, but he got that last week. Now there's no Jacobs. Now there's Peyton Barber. I'm not afraid of Peyton Barber. I think I'm going to go Mitchell here. I'm going to go chase the volume. But it feels dirty, and I feel like Drake's going to really fuck me over this week, and I'm kind of excited about it.
All right, Quinn, where are you at? Kenyon Drake or Elijah Mitchell?
Yeah, so here's the thing with San Francisco. Is Shanahan is going to give somebody the rock, and that somebody is going to have a really good day in fantasy. If you can accurately predict that every single week, you will do well every week. But good luck, because I don't even think Shanahan knows who's getting the ball yet. So just off the question marks with the running back situation in San Fran alone, I'm going Kenyon Drake. I'm a big floor guy. I prefer a high floor over a high ceiling with a low floor.
Yeah, for me, this is Elijah Mitchell. I mean, I've been on the train for this guy for a long time, way before last week. But here's the deal. I think there's this misconception about the San Francisco 49ers running back core. Mike Shanahan gets this stigma that he doesn't have a guy, right? And while that seems true at face value, you got to think about the context there. And to me, it's injuries. There are so many injuries that have happened in that backfield. That's why Jeff Wilson became a thing. That's why JaMychal Hasty became a thing. That's why Tevin Coleman and Raheem Mostert got their chance when Jerick McKinnon came in. It was always injury-based. So to me, Quinn, to your point, I think you're kind of accurate. They're going to go with a guy that's going to be the bulk carry. Now, that doesn't mean Trey Sermon's not going to get any work at all, right? I think it's like a 60-40, 65-35 split, something like that. But Elijah Mitchell proved last week that he deserves the rock. He was great in college, and he came in and balled out in his first game last week. So I'm going Elijah Mitchell here because I think it's the better matchup. And I think he has that receiving upside floor that you talk about Kenyon Drake having as well, right? He's going to get a couple targets. That's going to give him a little bit of a floor, and he's going to get the bulk of those carries. So I'm going Elijah Mitchell here.
There's just no reason for Kyle Shanahan to come out and start Trey Sermon. Like, if we're going to go strictly into game theory, like, it is just like Tyson Williams, Elijah Mitchell's position to lose. So he's going to have every opportunity to not lose that. And if he starts to mess it up, then that's when Sermon comes in. That's when Hasty comes in, who also Hasty should be a late night waiver pickup just because he's one of the last men standing right now. So he's worth it. He's been kind of productive before.
I love it. All right. Our next up is Mike Evans, Robert Woods, or Jamar Chase. And this is from Neil Scott at Neil_Ionair on Twitter. This is right off of our Fantasy Football Affair or Fantasy Affair FF Twitter stream. And he says, hey guys, Mike Evans, Robert Woods, or Jamar Chase? You need to pick one.
I'm going Chase here.
Okay.
I'm worried about Robert Woods. And I don't want to be because it's week 1 and I want to overreact. But he saw only a slight uptick in snaps over Van Jefferson. He's less routes ran over Van Jefferson. Had he not gotten that touchdown in that it was a great catch, beautiful play, but we would have been talking about Robert Woods in a really different light, kind of along one of those players we're worrying about already, similar to Julio-esque. That being said, Jamar Chase and the Bengals are going to be in yet another, again, high-scoring affair with the Minnesota Vikings. They ran 3 wide receiver sets at the highest rate they had in quite a while. Assuming they keep that up, I think it's going to be another game. And I think Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are going to be the ones sucking up most of that target volume. Mike Evans, it seems like it's going to be a Antonio Brown and then Godwin or Mike Evans type game. I'm just more comfortable going Chase here. I don't want to spin that wheel on Mike Evans, and Robert Woods needs to show me a little something first.
Okay, so Jamar Chase, if gun to your head and you had to pick a second one, no explanation, who is it? Mike Evans or Robert Woods?
Robert Woods. I still love him.
Okay, Quinn. All right, pick one. Who's your guy out of these three right now?
I'm right there with y'all. I'm going Jamar Chase.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the gun to your head second?
Woods. I think Evans might be the fourth best option in Tampa right now for Brady.
Yeah, and that's where I'm at. Jamar Chase is probably the first. I think the volume is just there. Mike Evans is that boomer bust, one catch kind of guy. You saw it last week. He just didn't really get looked at, right? I think Antonio Brown has become the two there, with Chris Godwin being the primary target. And then Robert Woods, I'm not overreacting to Robert Woods. He did end up with a touchdown. Cooper Kupp is the guy you want in that offense. The way that Matthew Stafford looked at Cooper Kupp last week was the way I look at my wife, like after we first got married. It was unbelievable. That touchdown that went to Robert Woods, that play was designed and he was looking at Kupp. That ball was going to Kupp, but the defense played very well. They saw it coming. So he went through a progression before he threw that ball in the back of the end zone to Robert Woods. So Cooper Kupp is the man there. But I'm not going to deny the rushing attempts, the 2 rushing attempts a game or something like that where Robert Woods is going to get, and some of those design screens and things of that nature for him. So I'm definitely sitting Mike Evans out of these 3 as well. All right. Next up, from George V. 911, PPR League, Tim Patrick or Brandon Ayuk. And I'm going to kick this one off because to me it's a smash play. I'm going Brandon Ayuk. I'm not going to overreact to the hamstring and some of the other disciplinary, if you want to think of it that way, issues. I think it was more hamstring related than anything because he did play like 46% of snaps. So he did get to see some playing time. And you saw how explosive and how good this kid was last year. I expect that to pick back up. And I'm not going to go with the third, maybe even the fourth option in Denver in a game that I expect them to get in a lead fairly early and just continue to run the rock with Javonte Williams and Melvin Gordon. So I'm going Brandon Ayuk here. Quinn, how about you?
Yeah, I love Brandon Ayuk. And then Tim Patrick, who, like you said, is like a third or fourth option. And then I also like to look at quarterback play here, and I like Jimmy Garoppolo a lot more than Teddy Two Gloves.
Okay. Britt, where are you at?
You guys are insane. Listen, I'm not going to risk a 0 from Brandon Ayuk again, and he's not going to get a 0. But my point being is I'm not going to go play with fire twice. I think that while Brandon Ayuk is no longer in the doghouse, healthy, whatever it is that truly was the issue, I'm more comfortable rolling with Tim Patrick. We've seen him do it before. There's no Judy. He's going to slide into that role. At worst, he's a third option. At best, he's a second option. We did see a nice connection with Fant and Teddy B. That being said, the Broncos are going to be playing the Jaguars. The Jaguars, more likely than not, are going to try to slow the game down a little bit. And Tim Patrick's, for whatever reason, has a really high touchdown rate, if off memory, when he's playing. So for whatever reason, I'm going to roll with Tim Patrick's here just because I feel like he's safer and he's less likely to be giving you a dud game, which Brandon Ayuk could very well give you. That being said, please do things. It's more fun when you're good.
All right. I like it. All right. Next up, Jacoby Myers or Marvin Jones. And this is from Average Joe Sports Talk on Twitter.
I think I said Myers here. And the reason why is Marvin Jones saw the most snaps, or he had the highest snaps and he had the highest second targets. And then Urban comes out and says we threw it too much. So you got to be worried about that. He's going to probably try and pretend that Carlos Hyde was good again back when he was 26 instead of whatever he is now, 45. So Jacoby Myers played 99% of the snaps, I think, for the Patriots. And they're going up against the Jets. So Jacoby's going to feast, I think, this week. In PPR especially, which I'm assuming it is because apparently I'm the only one on this flat earth that is standard. The earth's not flat, friends. It's just a joke. Relax. But Myers, it's Myers for me.
All right, Quinn, how about you, man?
Yeah. So if you listen to some Hot by Happy Hour, Sammy made a great point talking about the Jaguars offense. Everybody in that offense got 7+ targets. All of their receivers did, whether it be Jones, Chark, or Chenault. They all got a ton of looks, and that's going to continue. Lawrence is going to spread that ball around. Marvin Jones is going to get the rock. And I honestly, I don't think you could go wrong with either guy here, but I'm leaning Marvin Jones.
All right, cool. And I'm going to go Jacoby Myers. I like the target volume that he's getting. I expect them to pretty handily deal with the New York Jets and a guy that I think can give you a pretty solid floor. Whereas, like Britt talked about, the hope and even following the coach speak this week is that the Jacksonville Jaguars get back to handing the rock to James Robinson, and that slows the game down a little bit. They're not going to see as much passing volume. They're not going to be down as much as they were to Houston if that's their run game, because they're going to slow the game down. So I'm going to go Jacoby Myers in that volume in that play as well. All right, next up is from, I'm not even going to try to, it's a bunch of I's, S's, and then fun D's. So we're going to go DJ Moore or Mike Williams. And Quinn, I'm kicking this one to you as the resident Chargers fan.
Yeah, might be able to just leave it off with this. So Mike Williams was asked if he thought he was going to have a repeat performance from week 1, and his response was, I don't know, looked like those Tampa receivers were having fun out there. So,
I love it.
I'm playing Mike. I actually just benched Mike Evans in one of my leagues for Mike Williams, like while we were sitting here.
I like it. Britt, where are you at with it?
I'm on board with Mike Williams. Like we mentioned earlier, I'm just trying to get as much exposure to this Chargers and Cowboys game as possible, which means more likely than not, I think there's some sharp betting guy that says be scared when everyone's confident and be greedy when everyone's scared. So I'm scared that I'm so confident everyone else is. I'm still going Mike Williams. You know, the biggest obstacle is that he injures himself early on. That's the biggest obstacle. If he plays a full game, you are not going to regret what happens. And I'm not going to sit here trying to say and predict when and if an injury is going to happen for him. I love DJ Moore, but Mike Williams right now is just the man. Although DJ Moore is looking really, really good this year.
Yeah, I'm going Mike Williams. We're doing clean slate here. Look, this guy got 12 targets last week in a game script that didn't necessarily require them to chuck the rock that much. Now they're playing the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to have to throw the ball a ton. And the issue with Mike Williams in the past has been he's had to have that one big reception for a touchdown to be relevant from a week-to-week basis. Now you're looking at a guy who's getting 12 targets, 8 catches. I think he had 70 or 80 yards last week and a touchdown. That's a money play to me. So I'm going, especially in the highest over-under of the week in the Dallas Cowboys and the Los Angeles Chargers. I am not a believer of DJ Moore ever, really. I think he's a good play, but I know, hey, Andy's probably doing that too, because he's got this man crush on DJ Moore also. I just
Everyone
don't see it.
Man crush on
him. So I'm going Mike Williams clean, nice and easy for us there.
Who
All
hurt
right,
you?
next
Who
up.
Who hurt you?
I want to chime one more thing on that Chargers offense real quick. So last year, if they were up in the second half, they were running the ball 2 times, throwing it once. Brandon Staley has said multiple times that team, they want to win the game with the ball in the hands of their best player, and that's Justin Herbert. So that's going to help out Mike Williams and Keenan Allen's volume even more than it already has been.
Yep, I love it. I love it. All right.
I like this Staley guy.
I do too. I like him a lot.
Next up is Carlos _ God. All right, so God is asking, do you guys start J-Rob or Rojo in the flex? And it is a non-PPR, so standard league. So I'm kicking this one to you, Britt. You're the big standard league guy, so where's your head at here?
You have to go Rojo here. You have to. There is really no option, and I don't want this to sound like it's doomsday scenario, but the issue with James Robinson is last year, and I've talked about this numerous times, but he was productive because of his volume. He didn't have the efficiency that would lead you to have a productive fantasy week on 10 or 11 carries. He needs those 20 carries. He needs to consistently pound the rock to give you a weekly outcome that you're happy with. Rojo, on the other hand, is a better runner than Leonard Fournette. All you have to do is turn the game on, and you can see who the better running back is. except Rojo likes to eat popcorn prior to carrying the ball, apparently. So assuming that Ronald Jones isn't going to fumble, which apparently isn't a sure thing, I'm going to go Rojo here just because I think the matchup they have, they're going to be running quite a bit, which lends itself into Ronald Jones's hands. That being said, go package both of those running backs and get trade for a better one like Miles Sanders.
All right, Quinn.
Yeah, I'm right with Britt here. I'm going Rojo. I like Robinson, but until I see his volume uptick, I'm sitting him for now.
Yeah, I'm going back and forth here, and both of these are question marks, right? You've got James Robinson. You're hoping that Urban Meyer gives him the rock and lets him tote a little more, includes him in the game plan a little bit more. When you look at a snap share, great article by Britt this week, he even talked about James Robinson got 65% of the snaps, but Carlos Hyde touched the ball more. So it just doesn't make sense, right? So you hope that Urban Meyer can make the adjustment and since he's on the field more, start to include him more in the game plan. And then on the other side of the coin, you're looking at Ronald Jones, who fumbled and got, he flat out got benched. Benched. Now, he doesn't have a huge fumble issue. I think he had two fumbles last year, came back from those. And like Britt said, he is the most explosive back in that backfield. And Bruce Arians has already come out and given him the vote of confidence and said, Ronald Jones is our starter in a game where I expect them to absolutely destroy the Atlanta Falcons. So they're just going to run the ball. So this is a game where I think both Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette could be somewhat decent fantasy production. Both of these guys are in your flex regardless. So the upside play I'm going with is the guy who I think is the most explosive and the guy who can end up with the touchdown, and that's going to be Ronald Jones as well. Ronald Jones, plug him in. All right, next up is Reese Mode, says Brandon Cooks against the Cleveland Browns or Courtney Sutton. Courtney Sutton. Jerry Jeudy, that big high ankle sprain last week, is out. So Courtney Sutton, 3 targets last week. So are you guys worried, or are you plugging him into your lineup this week, Quinn?
I actually really like Brandon Cooks, and it seems like Tyrod really likes Brandon Cooks. Tyrod can breathe again. The offense is being thrown well with him at the helm. Cooks is the only really good player on that offense, so he's going to get his looks. He's going to get the ball. I like Brandon Cooks.
Britt?
I'm going to go touchdown upside here. I'm going to go with Courtney Sutton. As we know, Sutton is now the only alpha left on the offense. It's hard to say if he was going to cede those duties to Jerry Jeudy. It certainly looked like it more, and it's possibly because that Sutton's just coming back from that ACL. As Bradley alluded to last week, Sutton got the Bradbury treatment. So the nice thing is the Jaguars don't have a Bradbury. They have a Shaquille Griffin, who's good, but he's not Bradbury good. So I like Sutton. I think he's going to get a lot of targets funneled his way. Same with Noah Fant. And I think that's something I'm going to be looking forward to.
Yeah, I like Sutton here also. It's tough because you can see a game script where Brandon Cooks just gets peppered, right? Because Houston most likely, I think it's like an 11.5 or 12-point spread against the Browns. So you expect them to be down. It looks like it's going to be bad, but everybody thought that coming into last week's game, and they came out on fire. So there's a game script where Brandon Cooks could be a huge value. Here's my issue. Denzel Ward's really, really, really good at playing cornerback. Grant Delpit is supposed to be healthy. I think there's a world where these guys produce significantly better than they did against the Kansas City Chiefs last week because I like Brandon Cooks. He's a huge value play, but he's not Tyreek Hill, and they don't have a Travis Kelce. So I think when you look at that team, there's only one person you got to stop, and that's Brandon Cooks, right? Are you worried about Pharaoh Cooper? No. Are you worried about Nico Collins? No. There is no one else, and those running backs are friggin' old as shit, right? So I'm not worried about that situation at all. So I'm going with a guy that I think, he saw 3 targets last week in Courtney Sutton, but James Bradbury. They don't have James Bradbury. Jerry Jeudy is out. They've had a whole week to plan this game plan. I think Courtney Sutton he's going to be the primary target in that offense at this point. And I think, as the season goes, he's gonna build up. So I'm going Sutton as well. And Britt, are you leaving us so you can get ready for the game?
This is it. This is the time I depart on my Sutton love. Sutton's great. That's all I gotta say.
All right.
See you, boys.
Hey,
Take care of
enjoy
yourself.
that game, man.
Yeah,
Enjoy
I
that
will.
game.
I will.
All right. See you, bud. All right. Next up, Quinn. Ricky Blaze says Nyheim Hines or Kenyon Drake. Are you continuing that Drake love now? Go ahead.
It's tough because I also love Nyheim Hines. I started buying in on Hines last year in a lot of leagues because Rivers was there, and Rivers loves that scat style back. But so does Carson Wentz, and Hines is going to get the ball, as is Drake. And on this one, I think they're both going to get a lot of receiving love, which is helpful in PPR, but only one's going to get the ground game love, and that's Kenyon Drake. And I think Drake's more likely to get a touchdown than Hines as well.
Okay. So you're going Kenyon Drake.
Yeah, I'll just keep loving on Drake.
Yeah, for me, I'm going to go Nyheim Hines here. So the one thing that people aren't thinking about is Paris Campbell's out this week. Now, granted, Paris Campbell didn't get a ton of work last week, but there's a good chance, him playing the role that he was playing last week, it was that shorter yardage stuff. Now that's gone. Nyheim Hines had 8 targets last week in a situation where I think that it could be very, very similar. So I think I'm riding with Nyheim Hines against the Los Angeles Rams, a team that is going to be absolutely, they're going to, again, a game script that I think LA is just up, right? And up quick and early. So they're going to be throwing the ball with Campbell out. Their only other options are really Michael Pittman, Zach Pascal, and I don't know who their third receiver is going to be at that point. So I think Nyheim Hines and Jonathan Taylor, again, I think they combined for 14 targets last week. I think Jonathan Taylor had 6 and Nyheim Hines had 8. So I'm going to go Hines here in the full point PPR. I just think he has the better floor, and I don't have to rely on that touchdown upside for Kenyon Drake. So, all right, next up, Ricky Blaze says Juju Smith-Schuster, the snap share leader. Again, I'm plugging that article that Britt Sanders put out at the FF Sandman on Twitter. Check out ffaffair.com. Week 1 snap share. Juju was the snap leader in that offense with, I think he was at 91% if I remember correctly. Or do you go with the 2 touchdown outing from Christian Kirk? Do you chase that week 1 production? Quinn, where are you at?
So I think what's interesting is Christian Kirk clearly established himself as the wide receiver 2 in Arizona last week. Obviously, he's never going to be ahead of DeAndre Hopkins. And then the Steelers' offense, what's so interesting about that team is who the receiver that gets the ball is going to come down to game script because there's so many good options there. And I don't even think it's going to be a receiver that gets. So I'm running Christian Kirk here.
Yeah, this is tough. I think I'm gonna go Juju. So I'm going to a guy who is not the alpha in the offense, but a guy who was the red zone target last year. He's playing in the slot, which is always the better matchup, especially when you get a big slot guy like Juju on the field. So I expect the Pittsburgh Steelers to have a little bit of a bounce back game against the Las Vegas Raiders. You saw Marquise Brown have a solid game. You saw Sammy Watkins have a solid game. So I think there's a world where Juju continues to kind of be that snap share leader. He was the second in targets last week, but don't read into that too much because I'm a huge matchup guy, right? So Chase Claypool was up against Tre'Davious White last week, which is why he saw the lower targets. But I think Juju has the better floor, right? That Christian Kirk, I'm not one to chase those touchdowns, and that's the thing that scares me away. I just don't see that happening in back-to-back weeks, nor on a consistent basis. So I'm going to go Juju here for the Pittsburgh Steelers going up against the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah, I feel like I've thrown a little bit too much Raiders love out here today to be wearing a Chargers jersey. So I have to get this off my chest real quick. Just a real quick FTR. Fuck the Raiders.
Oh, nice. Oh, you are. Yeah, that AFC West hatred, right? All right. So next up, we're going to go with a Twitter question from @live from the SHXD, and he says, pick one standard scoring: T. Higgins, Antonio Brown, or Christian Kirk. Again, T. Higgins, Antonio Brown, or Christian Kirk.
Ooh. I'm gonna go T Higgins here. I like I like that offense a lot in Cincinnati, and
Okay.
yeah, I think I'm going T Higgins there.
Yeah, the standard scoring, I think, is what does it for me, right? Again, I worry a little bit about that Tampa Bay game script and them going up big and not really looking to throw the ball that much. I know that's not really Tom Brady's thing. He doesn't give a shit to run the score up on a team, regardless of how much they're up. But again, I could see a very similar game script to what Minnesota had last week. And Adam Thielen having 10 targets and a couple touchdowns. I could see a very similar thing happening with T. Higgins this week, where he gets 9 to 10 targets and a touchdown is definitely in, I don't want to say guaranteed. That's never a good thing to say, but I think it's pretty damn close that that's going to happen. So I'm going to smash T. Higgins here as well. All right, next up is from M. Leasy. He says, full point PPR flex spot. Do you go Tim Patrick or Robbie Anderson? Tim Patrick or Robbie Anderson?
I like Robbie Anderson a lot. He already has a connection with Sam Darnold from their time with the Jets together. They looked like they still had that connection going last week. I like Robbie Anderson, and I think he's going to be even more successful with Darnold at the helm there in Carolina. I think this might be just a no-brainer. I'm slamming Robbie Anderson on this all the way.
Yeah, I mean, at name value, right, that's what you're looking at. And I think I'm at Robbie Anderson also. I didn't see that last week. You see a guy who got 3 targets, and had it not been for that one long one, he'd have lost you the week, right, because he'd have put up like 3 points. And that's not something that makes me happy. But again, I think the game script and Tim Patrick being the third or maybe even fourth option in that offense worries me even more than that upside that Robbie Anderson could play. So I think I'm Robbie Anderson here as well. It's really tough. The Denver Broncos playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. That matchup looks to be absolutely smash, right, for anybody in that game. Whereas the Carolina Panthers are playing the New Orleans Saints. So if you think about what that game script looked like last week, New Orleans could get up early and they need to chuck the rock. So I'm sticking with my initial answer, Robbie Anderson. But this is a tough one for sure. All right, I think it's going to be the last one. Give us a little bit of time to set our lineups, get ready. So this is another Twitter question. He says you need to pick 2, and it's a PPR league. DeAndre Swift, Elijah Mitchell, Robert Woods, T. Higgins, or Deebo Samuel. You got to pick 2. So Swift, Mitchell, Woods, Higgins, or Deebo. Pick 2.
So what's funny is I actually responded to this one on Twitter, and I'm changing my answer from the time that I responded on Twitter to now. I took Swift in that one. I'm sticking with Swift, but I also took Woods, but I'm leaning more T. Higgins over Woods. So yeah, I'm saying Swift and Higgins if I'm picking 2 out of that group.
Yeah, and I think that's where I'm going as well. DeAndre Swift, you can't deny the work that he got last week. It was a 66 to 34% snap share. He got a ton of targets. I don't care what people say, he is so much better than Jamal Williams. When you just watch, this dude is electric. He's absolutely electric. So I'm smashing Swift on this one for sure. And then T. Higgins, again, we talked about the upside. I think the targets are going to be there. The touchdowns are going to be there. And all these others, you have questions, right? Okay, Elijah Mitchell, Trey Sermon's coming in. So how's that going to affect? Robert Woods ran the 3rd most routes behind Cooper Kupp and Van Jefferson. So now how's that look? Does he have a bounce back game? Does he not? That touchdown really saved his week. And then Deebo has Brandon Ayuk coming back. So how, those 3 question marks, I'm getting rid of those, and I'm going with the surefire things in DeAndre Swift and T. Higgins.
One thing I did see in his post on Twitter, he said he has Jamal Williams as well. So because there is a little bit of injury stuff with Swift, at all signs are pointing that he's a go this week. But if he doesn't, being that they're the late game, it is a scare that if he's a last second out, you're screwed. But he has that backup plan. Worst case, he has to play Jamal Williams.
And that's not even worst case. I'd smash Jamal Williams over these guys as well right now, right? Even if he
Swift is
didn't
out.
have Swift, even if Swift was playing and he didn't have Swift and he had Williams, I would still play Williams over Mitchell and Woods and Debo most likely. So it's tough because Debo looked so fucking good last week. He looked like vintage Debo Samuel. Give him the ball and just let him manhandle people, right? And you even saw him, show a little bit of that speed that you don't typically get to see from him on that deep catch and run in for a touchdown last week. So, all right, everybody, we hope we help you win this week, just like we did last week. 75% hit rate on our start sits. I can only hope that we are even remotely close to that this week. So, cheers to you. Raise your glass. Enjoy your week 2 NFL and good luck.